This story follows Haruna, a girl with only 6 months left to live, and Hayasaka, a young man who has just 1 year. Their lives take an unexpected turn when they meet and fall in love, making their limited time even more precious and bittersweet. Their first meeting happens on a rooftop where Hayasaka is contemplating ending his life. As he's lost in his thoughts, a peculiar sound, a pencil snapping, draws his attention. He turns to find a girl sitting on a bench, sketching something with a calm intensity. Intrigued, he approaches her and strikes up a conversation. When Hayasaka asks about her drawing, Haruna says she's sketching heaven. Her matter-of-fact tone puzzles him, especially when she casually mentions that she'll be heading there soon. She explains she has a rare illness and only 6 months left to live. While most people would be shocked, Hayasaka doesn't seem surprised, which leaves Haruna a little confused. What surprises Hayasaka instead is Haruna's calm and cheerful demeanor. She explains that she's accepted her fate and is simply waiting for what she believes is a better place. Hayasaka, however, struggles to understand this mindset. Once a brilliant painter with dreams of becoming a great artist, he lost all passion for his craft after discovering he had a terminal tumor in his heart. He has only a year to live, and he can't comprehend how someone so close to death can find happiness. Determined to unravel her perspective, Hayasaka returns to the rooftop the next day, only to find it empty. Frustrated yet curious, he seeks her out again, and when they meet, Haruna takes him to her room, a place she says is rarely visited since she has no friends. When Haruna discovers Hayasaka is also an artist, she becomes excited and insists he participate in an upcoming art exhibition as her surrogate. She sees it as a way to share his talent and passion, even if he doesn't feel it himself. Hayasaka is baffled by her joyful approach to life despite her circumstances. When he questions how she can smile and draw with so little time left, Haruna explains that drawing is her escape. Through art, she creates her own world, a beautiful, limitless fantasy where reality can't hurt her. Their bond deepens as they navigate their short but meaningful time together, finding solace in each other and the art they create. As Haruna and Hayasaka share a quiet moment, their conversation is interrupted by a nurse reminding Haruna it's time for her next dose of medicine. Hayasaka, now attached to Haruna, hesitates to leave and asks if he can visit again. Haruna, pleasantly surprised and happy at his request, agrees but with one condition. He must bring her something new to draw. The encounter leaves Hayasaka feeling lighter, even cheerful, which confuses his friends, Eri and Shota. They joke that his recent bike accident might have affected his mind, as he seems like a different person. But Hayasaka has no time to explain. He's eager to see Haruna again. On his way to the hospital, he stops to buy a bouquet of vibrant flowers. When he enters Haruna's hospital room, he finds her asleep. Not wanting to wake her, he looks around and notices a drawing of a sunset with 2 empty chairs. The image stirs something in him, but before he can think further, Haruna startles him awake with a teasing remark. "Don't you know you're supposed to knock first? I'm a girl after all," she jokes. Hayasaka laughs and hands her the flowers. Haruna's face lights up with joy. She's never received flowers from a boy before. As they plan to go outside together, a senior nurse interrupts, reminding them of hospital protocols. Though they part ways for now, the nurse is visibly touched by Hayasaka's kindness and encourages him to visit again. Later, Hayasaka realizes how isolated Haruna must feel. Due to her illness, she can't meet her friends or family regularly and is left waiting, hoping someone will visit. Determined to help, Hayasaka visits her old art club and meets Aoba, who tells him about Ayaka, a close friend who used to hang out with Haruna. Hayasaka tracks down Ayaka and tries to convince her to visit Haruna. However, Ayaka misunderstands his intentions, assuming he's trying to impress Haruna for selfish reasons. When Hayasaka explains Haruna's illness and her loneliness, Ayaka becomes defensive, insisting they haven't been friends for a long time and doubting Haruna even wants to see her. Unbeknownst to Ayaka, Haruna deeply misses her and longs to reconnect. Back at home, Hayasaka grows distant from his own family. When his father suggests a family trip across Japan, Hayasaka declines, insisting they go without him, as he believes he'd only be a burden. The next time Hayasaka visits Haruna, he asks if there's anyone she'd like to see. Haruna hesitates before admitting she wishes her father would visit her, just like he used to. Wanting to make her happy, Hayasaka approaches the chief nurse to ask if Haruna's parents can be contacted. To his shock, the nurse reveals that she is Haruna's mother. She apologizes, explaining that she hasn't been able to bring Haruna's father to visit, because he passed away in an accident years ago. Haruna blames herself for his death, believing that her illness is punishment and that she's destined to reunite with him in heaven. This revelation leaves Hayasaka determined to help Haruna heal, not just physically but emotionally. The next day, Eri waits at the bus stop for Hayasaka but ends up missing her bus. As she stands there, Hayasaka comes out of the school building and notices Eri. However, seeing Shota approach Eri, Hayasaka changes direction and heads toward the flower shop he frequents. The shop owner greets him warmly but can't help but wonder why Hayasaka buys flowers so often. "You must be in love," the owner teases. Hayasaka brushes it off, claiming he's just a friend. What he doesn't realize, however, is that he's slowly developing feelings for Haruna, feelings he's yet to recognize himself. When Hayasaka visits Haruna that afternoon, she curiously asks why he comes by so often. "Don't you have friends or a crush you're chasing after?" she teases. Hayasaka hesitates before admitting he does have a childhood crush. However, he explains that another one of his male friends also likes her, so he's chosen to stay out of it. In return, he asks if Haruna has ever had a crush or boyfriend. Haruna shakes her head, explaining she never allowed herself the chance to fall in love. "What's the point?" she says with a sad smile. "Romance with me would end before it even begins. I don't have a future." Still, she wishes Hayasaka happiness, encouraging him to live a long, fulfilling life. "I want you to have a family, grow into an amazing old man, and live a life worth remembering," she says. "I'll be watching over you from heaven." Her words move Hayasaka deeply, but they also solidify his decision to keep his own terminal illness a secret from her. From that day on, Hayasaka becomes even closer to Haruna, visiting her every day. One afternoon, Haruna hears about his plans to watch a movie with his childhood crush. She congratulates him on the date, but Hayasaka waves it off, saying it's not a date at all. Their conversation reminds Haruna of the annual fireworks festival. She shares how lonely she felt watching the fireworks alone in past years, her expression tinged with sadness. Seeing her like this, Hayasaka promises to take her to the fireworks on the 20th. While meeting Eri and Shota, Hayasaka spots Ayaka working nearby. Shota mentions rumors circulating about Hayasaka asking Ayaka out, which Hayasaka quickly denies. As they continue chatting, Hayasaka receives a message from Haruna, asking if he's arrived at the movie theater. Before he can respond, a sudden, sharp pain grips his chest. Hayasaka collapses to the ground, his vision blurring as panic sets in. When Hayasaka wakes up in a hospital bed, he's disoriented and weak. His family informs him that he's been unconscious for an entire week. His heart sinks when he realizes it's already the 20th, the day he promised Haruna they'd watch the fireworks together. Unable to leave the hospital, he's overcome with guilt and sadness, knowing he's broken his promise to her. As the fireworks begin, Hayasaka grows anxious seeing the string of messages Haruna sent him over the past week. Wanting to reassure her, he calls. When Haruna picks up, her voice is filled with relief and happiness. She jokingly asks if he's mad at her for bothering him with so many texts. Hayasaka quickly apologizes, explaining that he couldn't reply or fulfill his promise to take her to the fireworks. Haruna forgives him instantly, assuming he must have been busy spending time with Eri. Her words reveal a trace of sadness, which doesn't escape Hayasaka's notice. He wants to tell her the truth but chooses to remain silent, unwilling to burden her with his reality. As they watch the fireworks together over the phone, the mood shifts. Both of them are overwhelmed with emotion, knowing this could be their last chance to share this moment. Haruna wants to express her feelings to Hayasaka, but her soft words are drowned out by the loud bursts of the fireworks. As the display ends, their call quietly concludes, leaving both with unspoken emotions lingering in the air. The next morning, Eri and Shota visit Hayasaka in the hospital. They are devastated to learn about his condition and scold him for keeping it a secret. Though grateful for their concern, Hayasaka's thoughts remain fixed on Haruna. Later that day, Hayasaka has an unexpected encounter with Haruna's mother, who is working at the hospital. He pleads with her not to tell Haruna about his illness. "I just want her to enjoy her time with me as if everything is normal," he says earnestly. Touched by his determination, Haruna's mother reluctantly agrees. Determined to make the most of his time, Hayasaka discharges himself from the hospital and heads straight to find Ayaka. Knowing she's unlikely to listen, he surprises her by grabbing her hand and pulling her along. Furious, Ayaka resists, accusing him of being a weirdo and telling him that Haruna would never fall for someone like him. Desperate, Hayasaka blurts out the truth. Haruna only has 3 months left to live. The words hit Ayaka like a thunderbolt, and her anger dissipates. He pleads with her to visit Haruna, not for his sake but for Haruna's. When they arrive at the hospital, Haruna is shocked to see her childhood best friend standing before her. Tears well up in her eyes as she apologizes for the hurtful things she said in the past. Without hesitation, Ayaka pulls her into a tight hug, tears streaming down her own face. After their heartfelt reunion, Ayaka and Hayasaka leave the hospital together. On the way home, Ayaka recounts how she and Haruna first met in a park years ago. Haruna had been sitting alone, looking fragile and withdrawn. After learning about her illness, Ayaka made it her mission to stay close to Haruna, becoming her best friend. But as her illness worsened, Haruna began to withdraw, avoiding school and cutting ties with everyone. One day, she coldly told Ayaka she didn't see her as a friend anymore, hoping to push her away for good. Though hurt, Ayaka now understands it was Haruna's way of protecting her from the pain of watching her suffer. Moved by Ayaka's story, Hayasaka promises to do whatever it takes to make Haruna's remaining days filled with joy, no matter the cost to himself. However, Ayaka soon realizes that Haruna distanced herself to set Ayaka free from their friendship, allowing Ayaka to live without the constant reminder of Haruna's struggle. That same night, Hayasaka's father shares some hopeful news. A special surgery that could extend Hayasaka's life just enough for him to attend the upcoming art exhibition. The catch? He would need to stay in the hospital for 3 months. This revelation upsets Hayasaka deeply, as he had already promised to spend the next 3 months with Haruna. The next day, when Hayasaka visits Haruna at the hospital, he's surprised to find Ayaka there. The three of them engage in a playful and light-hearted argument, leading Haruna to jokingly see them as a potential couple, though neither Ayaka nor Hayasaka have any romantic interest in each other. Later, Ayaka presents Hayasaka with 2 tickets to the high school festival, subtly suggesting that he invite Haruna to watch the Snow White show. Excited, Hayasaka calls Haruna to ask if she'd like to attend the festival, and she happily agrees. At school, Haruna and Hayasaka enjoy each other's company throughout the day and watch the Snow White performance, beautifully acted out by Shota and Ayaka. On their way home, Hayasaka thinks of a special place Haruna had drawn in her sketchbook, the beach. Determined to fulfill her dream, he decides to take her there. Despite Haruna's uncertainty about whether she'll have another chance, Hayasaka stops the bus abruptly, grabs his car, and drives them to the beach. Since Haruna's illness makes it difficult for her to walk, Hayasaka lovingly carries her on his back to the shore. As they arrive at the beach, the sun begins to set, casting a breathtaking array of colors across the sky. Overwhelmed by the beauty of the moment, Haruna becomes emotional. In a playful mood, she jokingly asks Hayasaka to kiss her and revive him, referencing the fairy tale of Snow White. Hayasaka remains silent, tears welling up as he realizes he can't save Haruna from her fate. Seeing his reaction, Haruna becomes confused and assures him that her comment was just a joke. The next day, when Hayasaka visits Haruna again at the hospital, she makes a special request. She wants him to showcase his drawing skills by sketching her. Determined to fulfill her wish, Hayasaka gathers all the necessary materials and begins to draw. As he sketches Haruna, she asks him about his actions on the rooftop, the day they first met, and why he approached her so suddenly. Hayasaka explains that he was lost in his thoughts and, before he could harm himself, he saw a beautiful angel that drew him toward her. Haruna is taken aback by Hayasaka's reply and, after a moment of silence, reveals a secret. That day on the rooftop was when she first learned she had only 6 months to live. The devastating news left her terrified and yearning for a quick escape from the pain, but meeting Hayasaka changed everything. A ray of hope pierced through her despair, and now, because of him, she no longer wants to die. Instead, she dreams of spending more time with Hayasaka and her best friend, Ayaka. When Hayasaka finishes the sketch and shows it to Haruna, her face lights up with joy. She compliments his talent, calling the drawing beautiful, and treasures it as a memory of their bond. Moved by her newfound will to live, Hayasaka makes a bold decision. He asks his parents to let him undergo the surgery that could extend his life. But before he can share the news with Haruna, he finds her in critical condition. As doctors rush to save her, Hayasaka becomes overwhelmed with anxiety. Desperate to reach her, he sends several heartfelt messages, urging her to wake up and promising he has something important to tell her. Suddenly, a heart attack strikes him, and he collapses, his memories of Haruna flooding back as darkness overtakes him. A few days later, Hayasaka is recovering but devastated. Ayaka confronts him, furious that he wasn't there when Haruna briefly regained consciousness before passing away. Haruna's mother interrupts their argument, carrying a sketchbook. She explains that it's Haruna's final sketch and insists that Hayasaka is the only one who deserves it. Later, Hayasaka visits Haruna's hospital room and opens the sketchbook. Inside, he finds a drawing of a cozy bedroom and a heartfelt message addressed to him. Haruna thanks him for bringing joy into her darkest moments, for giving her a reason to smile, and for inspiring her to cherish life, no matter how short. She requests that Hayasaka live as long as possible, grow old, and meet her in heaven. Motivated by her words, Hayasaka undergoes the surgery and gradually resumes his life. He reconnects with friends, goes on a long-awaited family trip, and even begins painting again. However, his health continues to decline. Some time later, Ayaka starts visiting Hayasaka in the hospital, just as he used to visit Haruna. One day, she becomes worried when she doesn't find him in his room, but she soon spots him painting outdoors. When she asks about his health, Hayasaka admits the tumor has spread to his spine, hinting that his time is running out. Ayaka then remembers an Instagram post by Haruna and shows it to Hayasaka. As they scroll, they recognize a photo of the flowers Hayasaka once gave Haruna. The post ends with a password-protected entry left for Hayasaka. Unable to guess the password at first, Hayasaka carefully examines Haruna's last drawings and unlocks the file. Inside, Haruna shares a story about their time together, revealing that she had known about Hayasaka's illness all along. She considers meeting him her greatest blessing, describing him as a gift from God. She hints at the meaning behind the 3 gerbera flowers he gave her, encouraging him to find out. Searching online, Hayasaka discovers the significance. Giving someone 3 gerbera flowers symbolizes, "I love you." Overwhelmed, he realizes Haruna had loved him all along. Months later, Ayaka is shown sitting beside an unconscious Hayasaka, painting his nails with quiet care. In her heart, she remembers their moments together and reflects on how much he meant to her. Eventually, we learn that Hayasaka lived for 3.5 more years. In Haruna's old Instagram post, Ayaka notices a reply from Hayasaka before his passing. He thanks her for being a wonderful friend and for taking care of him in his final days. He also mentions noticing that Ayaka had painted 3 gerbera flowers on his nails, a gesture whose meaning he now understands. What he didn't know was that Ayaka had done it knowingly, as she, too, had fallen in love with him. Well, that's the end of this heart-touching story, folks. I hope it resonated with you as deeply as it did with me. Remember, life is precious, and the connections we make are what truly give it meaning. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.